Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. We want to welcome you back, and we have two special guests today for you. Let them introduce themselves there. First of all, we have...
The Traveling TARDIS.
I'm sorry, Bill, do that again. My apologies there.
Hi, I'm Bill Fawcett. Welcome to The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
And we also have...
Hello, I'm Jody Lynn Nye, and welcome to The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. I get to drive today instead of Christian over there. Okay. So basically, in this episode, we have two legendary people from the publishing world. We have Jody Lynn Nye and we have Bill Fawcett, who not only are from our again publishing world, because I'm going to let them explain a little bit more about what they've done. And my lord, the CVs are long, but they're also Whovians. So if in our audience you do not know much about them, I'm going to let Jody go ahead and tell us a little about herself.
Well, I have written quite a lot of science fiction and fantasy. I've had over 50 books published and over 170 short stories and more all the time. And I've been a Doctor Who fan since about 1980, when I wandered into my first science fiction convention and said, what is all this? And can you tell me the best of these books to look at? And what is going on here? And I've never looked back.
Awesome. How about you, Bill?
Well, I got involved. First of all, I became addicted under the Tom Baker years and have been ever since. And Jody and I shared this from the time we met. We're married, by the way.
By the way,
just so we fill in the audience on the inside jokes. My background is simply, founded a little company called Mayfair Games, ran the role-playing line, did some board games, spent 6 years trying to get a Doctor Who license for the company and never succeeded. The BBC thwarted us at every turn. Since then, I've been an author. I've got about 27 books out, history, mystery, and science fiction. And I've been a book packager. I've been creating series for publishing for about almost 40 years now, over 500 books.
Very cool. I wanted to make a quick note about those who are watching us live. You will probably see cats wander in from one screen and wander out of another one. So you could see that they are in fact married, and the kitty cats kind of connect the two, which has kind of been a fun little thing I've been watching. So if you do not know already, I am Melanie Dean. I usually am the director of the show. However, this time I'm going to be hosting. To my left is Christian Basil. How are you doing, Christian?
Not bad, but I got to show everybody. Yeah, he's back.
He's back.
We got it back. We got him back. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Hers is bigger.
Hers is bigger.
Hey, it's not the size that matters, it's where it goes.
Mine is.
Wait a minute, I saw did I see a Tom Baker?
Yes, you did.
Tom's sticking through there. The fourth
I made
Doctor's
his costume too, because the one that he came with was horrible.
Oh.
Oh, did you? Oh, you crocheted him a scarf.
No, the scarf actually was bought in because I didn't know how to knit at the time. I will shortly be replacing that, but I made the waistcoat and his pants and shirt.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
And the coat, of course.
Oh my Lord. It looks like it literally was something that it was packaged together. That's really cool looking. Sorry again for the people who are listening on the podcast. Jody's show. We're having a little bit of a show and tell right now of our TARDISes. Christian finally got his Legend of the actual, the one, the only Legend of the Traveling TARDIS back from me. I've had him since March, thanks to a little thing called COVID-19 and quarantining. He had a little visit to the UK where he had a lot of photos. But if you go on the Facebook page and Instagram, you can see some of those photos. However, he is back in the loving hands of Christian Basil.
I feel so bad how I got him back, though. There is a bit of a story. Yeah, Mark, there is a bit of a story there. I was actually visiting a friend in Tampa. She actually runs the Gratitude Radio Network, which we're a part of. And Jen had purchased a building. She wanted me to come out there and take a look at it because don't want to say too much, but we might have some stuff going on in the Tampa area through that building. So this is, Melanie, I'm totally excited about this. I think I sent you photos. You saw photos? Yeah, I was just like,
this side of the bridge.
She's geeking out. It's like, okay, we're going to do stuff in here. We're going to do stuff in here. And I was like, I was so ready for this. So I was like, okay, so when do you want to start? He goes, well, we still got to put the building together. I'm just like, yeah, it's still a work in process. But here's the thing: the night that I picked this up from Melanie at her house, I was traveling over, and she said, "Are you?" I think you said something like, "Are you sure you want to come over?" Or you send me a map.
I sent you a screenshot of the current weather storm, and it was one of the most lightning storms that we've had.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of a fear of lightning, as one of my great aunts had passed away from being struck by it. So it's kind of really in me when I see lightning, you go inside, you duck and cover, you don't go under a tree. All the little things you learn as a kid is in me. And he's saying, oh yeah, I'm on my way. And I'm like, because I'm going to literally throw it towards your car.
Where we were, it hadn't even hit yet. It had not even hit, so it was still clear as day. And then when we started traveling, that's when it was and wrath of God and all the monsoon weather and the water was coming down. Yeah, and I had to pull over and get gas. And by the time we got there, we were both soaked. Mother Nature is angry. Oh God, yes, I was terrified about it, and then I felt so bad. We finally got up. Melanie's got types and looked for a brick house, so we found the brick house, and lo and behold, Melanie's out there with a raincoat on, like this.
Yep, I was at my front door. I had it. I had my rain slicker on. I had my mask on. I had a painting of Bailey for him that I did of one of his pups.
It was,
and I had that in the back. And I had the TARDIS. And I walk up like, hey. Bye.
That was it.
I'll talk to you later.
Nice.
Sorry.
Nicely done.
You didn't get the symbolism on the trip. I mean, if that happened around the TARDIS in a flight, you'd know something was wrong instantly.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that the season 10 intro when the lightning bolt starts striking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just nope, bye. So before we get going, we haven't introduced one other person directly above me, if you're watching the show, and that is author Mark Muncy as he looks around. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. How are you all today? So doing good, everybody. I'm so excited for this. I'm a big fan of both of these legendary authors. I got to meet Jody a few years ago at an event at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, and we did a little pre-show at a local bookstore here in St. Pete. And so we got to spend a little time chatting. And Bill, I've always been a fan of Mayfair Games from the early days. So thank you for bringing Rolaids to life. Those were lifesavers sometimes.
Us old guys appreciate it. The name was funny because it literally came out of a beer drinking session at a Michigan. We had to name the line. And it was Saturday night, and we were done and exhausted and drinking beer in a pub. And the later it got, the better it sounded. And by the time we woke up Monday, that was the name of the Rolaids line. We did over 100 modules.
Oh, wow.
They were some of the best, too. So,
Mark, I noticed that before our show, you kind of had a little bit of a show and tell. What books did you bring that to kind of show our audience
Yeah, one of Jody's that I had her sign at Tampa Bay. Well, at the event at the bookstore, but pre-Tampa Bay Comic Con, is the Dragon Lover's Guide to Pern that she did with Anne McCaffrey, and it's wonderful illustrations and just a wonderful guide for those that love that book series, like I do. And then I also have some. I was looking for her collabs with Robert Asprin. But I couldn't find those because they're buried as we're redoing. I'm moving all my role playing stuff, so I couldn't find any of Bill's stuff either. But I did find my early myth books that Robert has been my first prints.
Those are great.
Which are was a pleasure to find. I thought I had lost those, so that was nice. But I got to find yours, Jody. I'm sorry.
I know you have them.
They're here somewhere. I mean, you remember signing them, so
yes. Yeah.
Jody, can you tell me a little bit more about the myth books? Because I know that you do a lot of you kind of, looking at your CV, you do a lot of stuff on your own, but you also do a good wealth of stuff collaboratively with other talented authors and even illustrators. But can you tell me more about the
opportunities? I've worked with Anne McCaffrey and Piers Anthony, John Ringo, Travis Taylor, and of course, Bob Asprin. I was in college when I read the first of the Myth Adventure series, and they are tremendous fun. The first one was called Another Fine Myth, and it is full of hideous puns. And he's not sorry at all about them, and neither am I.
So are all the others.
That's true. All of them are full of hideous puns, but that was the introduction to the world. And they are fun, they are positive, they're just goofy, and they are sort of the anti-Tolkien, the uber not Eddings, and all of the things where the stakes are the existence of the very world. No, this is more like, we want to get this hideously ugly trophy for our friend's birthday, so we're going to put our lives on the line and have this magical football game in which the hideous thing is the prize. So they're a great deal of fun. Bob wrote the first 12 books, and we started working together because he had some health problems. He had a bout of success, and it freaked him out because he got on the New York Times bestseller list with Fool's Company and it stopped him writing for a while. He needed to sort of ease back in. And Bill, who was one of his best friends, said, "Why don't you and Jody work together? You two write humor." And a lot of people have said that over the years. And the two of us look at each other and said, Mm-hmm. But we wrote a book that had nothing to do with either of our series. And when we were finished with it, Bob enjoyed the experience so much that he said, "When the time comes, when I am finished with my first 12 books for Dawning Star Blaze Press, I want you to work on future myth adventures with me." And they're just so much fun. I really love them. We wrote 6 together and 5 together and a collection of short stories. And I've written 2 since he passed away. I'm working on a 3rd one now. So I've been very fortunate, and I have gotten very good responses from people. At first, there was some resistance of me working with Bob, and I pointed out that if they didn't want any Myth Adventures books, then I would stop. Because Bob really wanted me to work with him, but they kind of got over it, and and the response has been very positive since then.
And the new title is
Ain't Myth Behavin'.
We have to keep up with the puns.
For those of you that are fans, I'll give you an insight. If you've ever noticed, there's quotes at the head of some chapters. There is a pattern to them. It seems random, but in reality, any chapter with Skeeve in it has a quote. If he's not in it, there's no quote.
That makes sense. I was about to ask about the quotes at the beginning. They're so fantastic. If no one's read these are incredible. They're like wonderful quotes from historical figures or characters, and then
things we wish they said.
Wish they'd said, exactly. So I was going to ask Jody, is that where do you come up with some of those? What's the tradition for that?
It's a lot of fun. At first, when I was working with Bob, he jealously guarded that to himself. So I only got to do it when he was no longer in the picture. But I watched him in action. He would do things like pick somebody who was doing something like the quote, because they're generally recognizable. Like we're putting the band back together, signed R. Hood. They were never referred to by their full names. They were always an initial and a last name. So that meant that occasionally we had things like A. the Hun, but we try to make it match the chapter. Of course, it's an emphasis, and it's also something that people can look for, like Easter eggs, and enjoy all by themselves.
Yeah, I got to say that was one of my favorite parts when I found those books. Early days was was those what drew me into the story. It was I'd find there was one by S. Holmes. It was like never judge a book by its cover, S. Holmes or something like that. It just made me laugh hysterically. And I was like, I'm done. I'm in. Gotta buy. So
me too. That's how I got into it. I started reading the books long before I ever met Bob, but it was a joy. The two of us would get together at Dragon Con. See Bill's shirt? Bill is advertising Dragon Con, which is coming out this week. And we would get together in the Hyatt restaurant and work on the next plot. And I would type because I was a faster typist than Bob. And the two of us would be laughing like loons. People would go past us trying desperately to hear what we were talking about, but they never could.
Wait a minute. You're doing Dragon Con, Bill? What do you do? You're doing Dragon Con online, right?
I'm one of the senior directors of Dragon Con.
Oh, we're okay. We just okay.
Yes, we are. I just looked at 32 panels in a row in a week to get them ready and mark them up and get them ready for the con. We're doing 3 tracks plus Facebook for each of the tracks beyond that. We have 32 tracks plus this nostalgia plus a whole channel of DC TV past and new.
Oh my God.
So it's free. And Jody?
And I'm running my writer's workshop virtually. So that'll be fun on Thursday and Friday.
We're doing all we can for the fans because we felt awful. We waited to the last minute, but we just couldn't take any risks, not with our fans. And we're trying to give them as much as we can of everything. There's literally a marketplace from all the vendors, which we've made available. It's free, by the way. You just tune in. You can also do a $10 streaming membership and look at it all for the next year, since we'll probably have about 1,000 hours of programming by the time the dust settles. And the normal year we have about 3,000. And also it'll be free to look at. Just look up Virtual Dragon Con and follow the breadcrumbs. And we're going to have a bunch of live interviews with a bunch of people and a bunch of things you haven't seen before. And we're also rerunning some of our great panels. And a little hint, after 10 o'clock, watch the panels. That's when we get to put all the colorful and blue ones on, like when Carrie Fisher developed a potty mouth during her panel for one.
Developed?
Showed off.
Known for being more than that.
That's the appropriate.
It was colorful.
That's actually
it's definitely after midnight too when we're going to show it.
Okay, I'm going to quickly go ahead and stop us right now because we need to go to a quick commercial break. But on the other end, I have some more questions for both Jody and Bill. So stay tuned.
Bateman.
What's the Bateman?
A novel set in Florida, written by Florida author D.L. Havlin. Suspense, mystery, and murder.
Evidence is in the bait.
The Bateman is available at local bookstores and online.
Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. Someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together. It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com. Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death. and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
And for those of you just joining us on the live feed, whether it be Facebook page or YouTube, don't thank us. Thank our friends at geekinsider.com.
At Geek Insider, we foster relationships with those in the geek sphere so we can give our audience the insider view of entertainment, tech, and more.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. We're here with the lovely Jody Lynn Nye. We're here with Mr. Bill Fawcett himself, their husband and wife, but don't tell them. We're also here with the lovely Mark Muncie with Erie, Florida. And hosting this panel today is the lovely Melanie Dean of Pieces of Melee.
Who? What?
You.
Christian, you said that you had a quick comment you wanted to...
Yeah, actually, I did.
Insert?
Because Bill doesn't know this yet, but I actually did something with Robert Bowen. We did they've already pre-recorded, so everybody's getting this little tidbit for the first time. We did a panel on Red Dwarf, The Promised Land. We discussed that episode. It was a really cool hour, and I won't tell you too much about it, but I did like the episode, and we had a good time about that. And I know that they did some pre-recorded questions for Doctor Who podcasters, and I was honored to do that. So this is actually the first time the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS is part of Dragon Con, and
welcome.
It's online. Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you guys for doing that.
There'll be a schedule up by Thursday where everyone can find it.
There you go there. But I'm going to turn the reins over to Melanie again. Melanie, take over.
So the question I actually was going to start off, and we kind of already had dovetailed where we actually segued into it anyway, was Jody, I know that you've, for years now, or at least a few that I'm aware of, that you've done a 2-day workshop for 6 years. There we go, because I've only attended like the last 3. So I don't know how many this was. But you've always done like a 2-day workshop with Dragon Con. So what started you getting into it? And then how did you keep, how do you keep it elevated? Because it's not like every time it's the same workshop, each time. You've got the foundations that you still hit, but it's different. So let me shut up and let you answer.
Well, actually, this is year 10 for me. I started, 10 years ago. This was, I was asked to take the workshop over. Anne Crispin, who had run it before, was retiring from it. And I was honored and scared and intrigued all at the same time. I do enjoy teaching. I had taught at Columbia College Chicago for a year, but that was, I wasn't getting any of my own work done. So I said that I would only do seminars and things. But when I was approached to do this, I thought that it would be a great opportunity to give back to the convention, because it's been so very, very good to me for a very long time. And I have, when we are in real life, I have 20 students per year. And it is a basic workshop in that sometimes I have very, very basic beginners, but I want people to have something finished to show me. I'm not going to take someone who has never written anything, who has nothing to send into the workshop, because we do go over the manuscripts together, and I offer a personal written critique for them to go over and to make their story better, which is the whole idea of any writer's workshop. I introduce topics. I talk about things that are specific concerns. If I notice something that is a trend that is appearing within several manuscripts, like one year we had no fewer than 5, and I think as many as 8, that started with a character narrating who had no name. And one of my students said, I thought I was being punked when I read these. But you always have something specific to go over.
Right.
And I also invite special guests to come in and speak on their expertise. So this year I'm going to be having Tony Weisskopf, who is the publisher of Baen Books, David B. Coe, who is a fellow writer and a very experienced and prolific gentleman, and Kevin Grazier, Dr. Kevin Grazier, who is a scientific consultant for television and movies. He's done Eureka and Battlestar Galactica and movies too numerous to name. So he's a lot of fun. I had him last year as well. So this year it will be smaller. I have fewer students, and so far there's been some really intriguing manuscripts presented to me. I'm very proud of some of them. A couple of them are very close to publishable, so I'm excited about that.
I edited one of her graduates last year, who's now got the second of his trilogy coming out.
Oh, wow.
He's been published by a publisher who actually paid advances.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do the workshop, what is the process? Because it seems like it's like a juried kind of thing where people are submitting you the manuscripts and then you go ahead and decide which your 20 students are?
No, it's first come, first served. If they have something that they've finished and they want to participate, if they fit within the parameters, that it's between 2,000 and 7,000 words long. And it doesn't have to be science fiction. One woman sent us the psychological thriller that with a woman who was being mentally abused by her husband. And it was so good, but so harrowing that I said, I hope this is not a real life writing, that you're not drawing on your own experiences. So if you want to submit it, go right ahead. This year I have a lit RPG manuscript, and I have classic fantasy. I have a really interesting thing that is going to be a huge epic fantasy, I can tell. So
and steampunk.
There are different things. I had one woman send me a superhero story that was really good, but was using copyrighted characters, so it's unpublishable, but good story. And we talk about all of these things. I bring them all sorts of information about the professional behavior, what editors are looking for, things editors hate, and what is changing in the market, because it is changing profoundly.
When you do your workshops, if there's one lesson where the teacher goes, if you've learned nothing in this class, here's the one thing I want you to remember what I teach you. What is that one lesson that you would want to make sure that your audience is listening to and saying it's nailed into your brain?
I think one of the things I would say to them is, the moment that you send something out, you are a professional. Act like it. Do not nag the editors. Do not flame them online. Do not nag them. Do not try to hand the manuscripts at conventions. That way lies madness and getting the manuscript left behind in a bathroom. But behaving in a professional fashion is often the key to getting accepted where somebody who is just as good as you is badly behaved. And you have no idea how often editors say, I like his work, but I can't work with him. So be professional.
Oh, wow.
And
you laughed at the manuscript, but I go back to the days when you submitted with paper too. And I've sat with editors, and we've all exchanged tales of sitting in the John and having a manuscript slid under the door to us. It was not unusual at a bar, in the John, anywhere.
You do that once and you never live it down. I'm sorry.
Well, the ultimate was Tor Books, where someone back in the days when they were hot paper printer, infrared fax machines, faxed an entire book to them over a weekend, all 300 and some pages, ran them out of papers about page 200. They were furious because they missed all their international transmissions back in the 80s then. They to get even, my editor, which frightened me because she was my editor, took a sheet of paper and put a rejection letter on it and then taped the end and just let it keep running to the return of the phone number.
That was my idea.
See, Bill, I would actually see you in the stall, and then if somebody did that and go, oh yeah, I ran out of toilet paper. Thanks about it.
Oh, it wouldn't get read. Believe me, you don't want to work with someone who will do that. That's the point I was making. You got to be careful how you approach people.
Holy cow.
But I want people to try things, and I want them very much never to say no to an opportunity.
If I were going to say two things about writing that I've worked with Jody and I've added a lot of others for new writers, I'd say show, not tell, and description. Those are the things you need to bring up to make you more professional.
Mm-hmm.
And don't send manuscripts unsolicited. I almost would assume.
Well, that's called slush piles. Just be patient if you do.
Fewer and fewer
today.
No, actually, fewer and fewer publishers, what we call the bricks and mortar publishers, the legacy publishers like Simon & Schuster and Tor, fewer and fewer of them are accepting stories and books over the transom, unsolicited or unagented. It's a pity, but there are also growing more and more terrific small presses that are a gateway to becoming noticed by the big houses as well. So that's a doorway, and most of them allow unsolicited manuscripts.
And many authors' goal is no longer to be at a legacy publisher. They're making too much money doing it independently. And never, because of the cutback by legacy publishers, never has it been more important to network than it is now, to meet young editors and young publishing company heads and things like that for a new writer, because it can make a whole world of difference in your career. And of course, the best place to do that is conventions once we have them again. So I always encourage them to just walk up and talk to them, become a person, and it makes it more likely they'll want to deal with you later, or not, depending on who you are.
And that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of people that are, at least in the author, the publishing scene, that they don't realize how much a comic convention or that comic conventions aren't just comic books, but like the bigger conventions, or even the smaller ones. There's a big push on self-published authors and getting their stories out there. But the bigger conventions have that representation from either the bigger brick and mortar places, like at a larger con, or even the smaller publishers. Is this something where you would kind of, the questions for either one of you to take, is this something that you would suggest to other, like trying to get out there authors, of start going to comic conventions and different or other types of conventions that you would recommend, so they can get a little bit more expertise in the field and kind of getting out there and learning more about it?
Go ahead, dear.
We have an opportunity at Comic-Cons and other big conventions, thanks to Alexi Vandenberg and the Bard's Tower. Bark and I were both at one at a Tampa Bay Comic-Con. And the authors who were in the Bard's Tower were, in fact, the literary track for the convention. So some of us, almost every time that there was room for a panel, some of us from the booth were going up to participate in a panel, then they would come back and we would tag team. And we met a lot of up and coming young writers, people who are aspiring to write, who wanted to ask questions of people who had been through the process. And we are always happy to answer those questions. We're always happy to give them the heads up and give them the boost that we were given by our fellow pros back when we were starting out. So it's a good place to get to meet them. If you want to meet literary agents and editors, you probably want to go to regular science fiction conventions or participate in things online. On Facebook, there's a page called the Writer's Coffee House. Every so often, that is being held by Jonathan Mayberry, who is a very experienced and wonderful author.
And a nice guy. And
a very, very nice man. Very nice. And he allows as many people as will fit into a Facebook group to participate in a Writer's Coffee House. So if you're early and you get your name on the list, then you can come in and ask questions and hang out with people that you may know their names of, get to know them, and have questions, ask them, please.
If you're a new writer and you're just starting in the business and you've got a first book, or you just want to get your books out, then if you go to science fiction conventions, as she said, you can meet editors, you can meet other people, you meet the small publishers, very vital to what you're doing. Unless it's large, like a Gen Con or a Dragon Con, though, you're not going to meet people who aren't already reading science fiction or might not have other books they're going to get, because it's the choir. You're preaching to the choir there. If you go to a comic convention, which are 15, 20, 50,000 people, you have an opportunity to make contact with people who haven't seen your books, don't know about you, and aren't always reading all the other science fiction books. There's about 7,000 a year being published now, literally. And so it's a new market. You can't just do it, but once you've got your books out there, it's a great place to expand into new readers. It's been very good for Jody. It's very good for all the people who do things like Bard's Tower or appear at them. And some are just beginning to discover this and appear at them to push their books.
Comic-Cons also offer tables for sale to anybody who wants them. So indie authors frequently band together and buy a table for the weekend. And some people buy their own table to sit at and get to know readers. If you can interest them in the cover of your book as they go by, they might stop and ask a question. And the more people that you are exposed to, the more likely you are to gain readers.
By the way, and anyone who's thinking about, I'll just go get a table, wait until you find out how much hassle and storm and drang it is to get it all set up and make it work at a convention, and how much expense you'll have involved. Go with other people or hit Bard's Tower. Don't, if you're just starting, get your own table. You won't attract attention when you're sitting next to DC Comics or something. So it's not worth that much effort. But a group of you, it would be very rewarding. On Bard's Tower, of course, where Alexi, gentleman who runs it, does all the work. That's an ideal situation. We all just get to stand and laugh at him as he falls over.
I think he ropes some of us into the work as well. So I've worked with Alexi a few times too. So, but
Now, I've got a question
for me. Is, I have a publisher who pays for my booths, so that's the nice thing. So.
Gee,
yeah.
But I have a question for you, Bill and Jody, because you both been you both been at Dragon Con. You've seen probably some first. Let's say there's somebody who's either a first time seller, and you made the recommendation to either shotgun with somebody, be part of something. But if you're out there, how would you explain to somebody who's their first time out there, and there's so much competition for authors out there. There's a ton of competition against each other. How would you give advice to somebody who is coming to Dragon Con saying, I want to really sell my books, I really want to shine? What would you recommend to that person to, I guess for a better term, compete with everybody else? Because all they've got is themselves and their book and their personality. All
right. First of all, I'll recommend a little book Jody and I did called Pros and Cons. Okay. It's based on columns we did for the Suffolk Bulletin. And it gives a lot of these hints and other insights, and also how to participate in a panel and stuff. If I'm going to go to a convention, one of the first things I'll do is find out who's doing the programming and throw myself at their feet and beg to be on panels. Mm-hmm. That will get you the best audience you can and give you more people to meet. And it gives you a profile that you won't otherwise have. After that, I would meet other authors and hang with them. It's amazing how things like the Four Horsemen world and stuff came from authors who just got together at LibertyCon in this case. And you can network with other authors, and then their fans can become your fans, and you promote each other. And that's vital, that authors work together to promote each other. It helps greatly to get things out. I'm always pushing people, and Jody's always plugging books on her Facebook. And then finally, try not to drive everyone crazy. Don't try and dominate the panel, and never miss a chance to plug your book. Gotcha there. And I'm going to do everybody one favor, since I looked it up really fast. Anybody who's interested in that book, I've just posted a link to the Amazon book for Pros, Cons, $1 Million Writing. Their Amazon book is up there. You can just check it out if you'd like. But I just want to let you know, if you want to check out their book, it's right now on the link. You just click on it. Do it later. Wait until after the show. Don't go get it now.
I'll also include the link when we post this to the podcast, as well as Facebook page and everything else when we wrap it together. We will make sure the link's in there, as well as anything else that we discuss as we go along.
And remember, it all goes to feed the cats.
Yes, must feed the kitty. That's what I do. That's why I paint. I have to feed 5 little angry mouths that will let me know that they're hungry, even though they just got fed by their daddy. Anywho, I'm going to quickly break us for a quick commercial break, and when we return, we're going to talk a little bit more about Doctor Who. For those people who are on a Doctor Who podcast wanting to know a little bit more about Doctor Who and how these guys are Whovians when we return. So stick around.
Hi, I'm Claudia Christian with some exciting updates in the Sinclair Method world. First of all, we launched our new coaching page. It's yoursinclairmethod.com, so you can go there and book a session with one of our fabulous coaches. You can also reach that page by visiting c3foundation.org. It's at the top of the landing page of the website. The second piece of news is Journeys is out. Woohoo! This book has been a long time in the making, and it is available in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore, and there's a limited amount of signed copies at c3foundation.org. So get your copy of Journeys now and visit the coaching page for some wonderful support. If you're on the Sinclair Method, you can book a session with a variety of different coaches. Take care and be well.
Experience Samara's adventure as she imagines the people around her change into friendly cartoon animals right before her eyes. Journey with her in this poetic tale, My Cartoon Imagination at School.
Alien invaders enslave Earth,
unleashing hunters into the ruined wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series
by Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
Welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. I am your host, Melanie Dean. With me are always panelists Christian Basil. Actually, he's usually the host. And Erie, Florida's Mark Muncy. Today we are talking to Bill Fawcett and Jody Lynn Nye. Right now, on our little third segment, we're going to actually talk a little bit more Doctor Who and what got them into Doctor Who and all the other kind of fun stuff. So now all of the professionalisms are out of the way. Let's talk about Doctor Who. So, first question I always have to ask everybody, who's your doctor? Whoever wants to go first, who is your doctor? Usually it's the one that you got into the whole franchise. Tom Baker, number 4.
Tom Baker is Doctor Who.
Funny enough for me, when I first watched Doctor Who, I was also the 4th Doctor. Tom Baker was what I remember growing up watching with my dad. And I never watched the 5th Doctor because I don't know if it was with you guys too, but I know Christian has a similar story where PBS had the 4th Doctor and then he regenerated into this weird blonde guy. And then we started again with the 4th Doctor. So I never went past that, so he's always been entrenched as my doctor. Is there anything, since we both know that the 4th Doctor is both of your doctors, is there any particular episode or story arc that you just shined for the 4th Doctor, or who's your favorite companion for the 4th?
Can I kill him now?
Yes.
It is without question my favorite line, and it recurs regularly. And she looked great in the outfit, too.
Yep. Definitely. My favorite, too.
Sarah Jane Smith forever.
I've always been like Sarah. I've always kind of liked Sarah Jane, and then Harry, if we had Harry a little bit longer as a companion. So for me, it's like when Doctor Who Scratchman came out, the novelization, I was just so happy that I had my original trio, my little team TARDIS back out there and having fun.
I bet nobody ever says Aldrich.
I think Christian probably would. Christian, you're muted, darling.
That's probably why. I'm just sitting here.
Although
There's my girl. There's my girl.
Yeah.
Mark is showing an autograph photo of Leela.
Yeah, Louise sent me that.
No, just keep that up for the rest of the show. I'll be
I'll
fine.
keep it better. Right? Yeah. So.
Hey, that was.
I've got Brigadier right here too. That's my companion. So that's
Also a delightful man.
Was Tom your first doctor, or that was the doctor that is your favorite? Do you have a first? Is it both?
Well,
is he both first and?
When I started watching them, they were on PBS stations in Rockford, Illinois, which was 90 miles west of us. Mm-hmm. And my friend Barbara, who lived in DuPage, close to DuPage County, I think she was actually, I'm not sure if she was actually in it, but she was close enough to pick up the broadcast signal for it. It was not currently on the Chicago signals. So she taped them for me. I was getting John Pertwee episodes first, and I thought he was terrific. But when Tom Baker appeared on the scene, of course, in Robot, I was charmed. He's so delightful. And of course, that magical chocolate voice of his.
Yeah.
He was so funny and so full of life that I just fell in love with him. How could you not?
No, but usually somebody's first for generation's a little bit wonky, but you accepted Tom Baker as the new doctor.
Yes, I had no problem with him at all. I liked the fact that he was so lively about it, and he was so playful. And the ears, what do you say to the ears then?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when he's walking around with the Viking suit on. That was cute. He's going through his little costume changes there.
Mm-hmm. Or when, in the Loch Ness Monster one, when he was wearing a tam and a kilt.
Yeah.
That was, yes.
Yeah, Bill.
I started with Pertwee, but he is, if Pertwee is class and British, Baker is style in the most human of the doctors in many ways too. And that, I think when they made the transition, I was sold by the end of Robots too. I mean, I just went, I like this guy. I want him for my uncle. I want to travel with him. I wouldn't want to travel with Pertwee. He was hard on people. Baker cared. And it was a different doctor, and I thought it was wonderful. And I never stopped watching after that till they took it off the air.
Yeah.
The long dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
So we know that Tom Baker is how you got into Doctor. Well, actually, I take this back. We know Pertwee's how you got into it. Tom Baker entrenched you. Did you continue watching the series? Do you watch the series now?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
There's a choice.
In new, because I know a lot of people when they ask when they're posited the question, who's your doctor, you always go with that your first doctor, and it's always sometimes classic. Sometimes people will say, I need to pick a classic and I want to pick a new. So in New Who, so from 9 on, do you have a particular favorite that you like watching?
I was really surprised by Matt Smith. And I think that I saw a panel where the classic doctors were talking during the 50th anniversary show, and they said he is, for all the fact that he's a very, very young man, he's a very old doctor. And he presented that so incredibly well. And I liked his playfulness. There were so many good facets of that. So I think all of the people that have been chosen for the new doctors, what are you calling them if they're not classic?
New Who.
New Who? Okay.
New Who.
I like the people that they've chosen for New Who just as much as I like the people who came before. Yeah, I was aggravated with the way that Colin Baker was portrayed then, but he has his doctor has very much redeemed himself in the Big Finish audio plays. I think those are amazing. Mm-hmm. But as a person also, I found him to be really charming as well. He's very funny, and he really loved doing the part. He was told to be that abrasive.
Right.
So I think he might have been different if he'd been left to his own devices.
Oh, absolutely. We actually have done quite a few reviews just on where we've either reviewed Big Finish audios of the Sixth Doctor or just Big Finish in general. But we've always kind of brought up the fact that Big Finish has kind of redeemed the Sixth Doctor in a way, because there was so much push and pull of what they wanted between the writer and then the costumer and then the designer. Well, actually, it was the director who kind of told the costumer what he wanted to do with the Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat. And meanwhile, you come to find out that Colin kind of wanted what the Ninth Doctor had and had more of that leather kind of gruff, and that's what he was. But then you had the Rainbow Nightmare, which I like the blue. I like the blue one better. But no, with Big Finish, you really did get to see more. He evolved. It almost felt like you got to see more of what Colin wanted to bring to the Doctor and what could have been. I guess that would be the better way to kind of say it.
I think as characters that I liked, I think Tennant's got to be high on my list. And I wish the scripts had allowed Capaldi to show what he could do and show a greater range than they ever gave him, because he had the potential to be my favorite of the New Who. But they didn't give him the opportunity to sell himself to the audience with the scripts he got.
Absolutely agree. For me, I kind of felt that with Capaldi's run, his last season, I think allowed him to be, or just, I'll give him even beforehand with the war speech for the Christian, the name of the episode with the Zygon invasion, where we got to see a little bit more of Capaldi. Really, we got to see him a little more angry and more passionate and more, just more. There was more meat for him, I think, as an actor, for him to really kind of chew on and have fun. But I think once they got rid of Clara and he had two different companions, I think we got to see a little bit more of Capaldi, and it's that wish there was more.
And by the way, super nice guy. Last time he was at Dragon Con, took him back to his room. They put him in his room. They said, "Good night. You're safe now." He went out and hit every party and spent an hour at the Who Ball. Didn't miss a thing. Yeah, he barely made his morning panel, but he was up half the night. And he said he tried to hit every party in his hotel, and he was in the Marriott. So it was impressive. He loves being with fans. He's just such an effusive, nice guy. I mean, dinner with him was a dream.
I'm sorry. Well, I was going to add, Melanie, I was going to tell a little bit about the Peter Capaldi story, because first of all, in my opinion, I think he should have been Rock and Roll Doctor day one. I think we should. I think that little arc going over to grumpy guy kind of got thrown in a bad spot. And I think he should have started with Rock and Roll, wiry haired kind of guy. And I think we would be still talking about him to this day. But Bill, you were talking about what a super fan that Peter Capaldi is to the fans. I just want to show you this picture. I took a picture of him in the Traveling TARDIS, and he asked me, "Well, what do I do with this thing?" Because he didn't know what to do at all. And this is the result of what happened right then and there. It's one of the best pictures. For those of you, I apologize. For those of you who are listening to the radio show, just go to the travelingtardis.com. The Facebook page for the Traveling TARDIS. It's in the profile picture. I'll even put it up as soon as we get this episode comes out. But he got mad at me because I started walking away. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm done. I'll take the TARDIS." He goes, No. And he insisted that I take a picture with him. So he pulled me back into the photo op, and the photo op people went nuts. They were like, what's going on here? What's going on? He would not let me go until he took a second photo with me and him together. So when I talk about Peter Capaldi, when I say he's a fan of the fans, that's who he is. He's a wonderful guy.
Everyone at the con loved him, but the company that was charging you to get your picture taken with the big names, because there were 500 pictures out that night, them posing at every party.
I'm in an anthology of essays called Chicks Dig Time Lords, and Lynn Thomas, who is the editor of that. Oh, you have a copy? Yay!
No. Kat Sullivan. She's a friend. She's a friend of mine.
Yep. Yes. Kathy Sullivan is a terrific lady. She's just so much fun. But he posed with the book in the TARDIS control room, and somewhere I have a copy of that photo. And it was just a terrific moment for all of us when that came back across the water.
Oh, wow. So
I will find it someday. I will post it for you.
I was like, wait, do you have it? Can you show it? Can you show it? Now, I do know that you have some photos that you're going to kind of give us a little show and tell on. So anyone that's watching can see this. If you're listening on the podcast, you're going to have to check the YouTube channel so that you can go back and look at around that 55-minute mark to see what's going on. But before that, we need to squeeze one more tiny little quick commercial in here because we went over in our first segment. Christian, throw that commercial in, and we'll go back to show and tell in just a moment.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Now on Amazon.com, iCoin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet iCoin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only iCoin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one, Jeremy, must face dark foes to save the Earth and iCoin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get iCoin on Amazon.com today.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
Welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. This is Melanie, where I am joined by Christian Basil, Erie, Florida's Mark Muncy, and we're continuing our interview with Jody Lynn Nye and Bill Fawcett. One quick note, one of our viewers just wanted to kind of chime in saying that they do have that book I've already forgotten the title.
Chicks
Dig Time Lords?
Chicks Dig Time Lords.
My brain just went Time Lords. I'm like, no, there were some words before that, Melanie. Come on, think. Your memory does not work in here.
My essay is called Hopelessly Devoted to Who.
Ooh. So Sadako 24, you need to go ahead and look through that, because that way you could find that particular essay and you can
Can't get that song out of my mind now.
So, Jody, you have some photos that you wanted to share. I can go ahead and get your screen to share if you wish, if you'd like to kind of share with the audience what you have.
Let's see how we can do this.
While she's getting ready, you were talking about favorite doctors. I think what indicates it. Go ahead.
There's one. Let's see.
Nice between there.
This one's a good one.
Oh, Patrick.
Yeah.
Patrick Troughton.
And we got to see a few of these before the show, Christian. You missed out.
Not fair.
Were a lot of these just behind the backstage or press tables, or?
I was at the 20th anniversary event in Rosemont, Illinois, and they had flown in about 20 or so of the Doctor Who actors, and I love this because this is what the room looked like. They did not have enough chairs. They did not have enough alcohol, and everyone was sitting on the floor.
Round.
Oh. That's amazing.
It was a lot of fun.
Planning is important, right, Bill, for DragonCon?
Oh, yes. We pre-plan all our parties.
Yes.
Ha.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's a Nicholas Courtney I see.
Let me see Mary.
Oh, I've got some very lovely pictures of him. He was a darling.
Just for the radio show, we had Mary Tam, we had Tom Baker, we had John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton, Nicholas Courtney. Oh, wow. Gosh.
Oh, yeah. Here's a face that you probably, real Whovians know that face.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Master.
Yes. He was very sweet. I enjoyed
world's nicest Dalek.
Here, just because I am not leaving anyone out.
Adric.
Okay, so the weirdest story about this event this night, is there one weird story about this particular moment?
Which moment in particular?
Anyone you want.
Anyone
Anyone you want to reveal.
Four different events here. Okay. Let's see.
How about that?
Well, at the 20th anniversary event, they had 4 of the doctors there. And at the time, Tom Baker was still a little cross about having been shifted out because this was 1983. And he, the other 3 doctors did events together, and he did separate events. 1 year later, John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sladen came to Chicago they were invited guests at a convention, but they came to WLUW at Loyola University in Chicago, where I had just graduated from. So I drove them there, hung out with them as they were being interviewed on the radio, and in 2 different places, on the stage in what used to be a movie palace that was next door to the campus, and at the radio station itself. And Elizabeth was there by herself, but John was there with his wife. This is Inga, who is the mother of Sean Pertwee, whom you have probably seen in the Brother Codfile Adventures. And she's a lovely, lovely person. I was about to go to Great Britain for the first time, and she gave me advice on places that I should visit and shop in. So these were terrific opportunities. At the time that I was taking these photos, my boyfriend was doing video. No. My boyfriend was doing
we're going to say anything there.
I'm having a little technical difficulties here, so I think I will retire the screen and go back.
I think that's Harry Sullivan, right? That's
yes, lovely man that he was. So, he did video interviews. I was his still photographer. I do not know what became of the videos that he took, but I still have all the still photos.
Wonderful.
So I got to meet all of these wonderful people. So
we have albums carefully packed and wrapped that we've retained through 4 moves.
Wow. Do you still have the negatives?
I do.
Excellent.
Those are packed in its own little secret thing that's going into a safety deposit box just to be on the safe side. Still look at
cat-proof closet.
My TARDIS closet.
No, nothing's cat-proof. We know that.
Nothing is cat-proof. Come on.
Nothing is cat-proof.
Steel.
What I was going to say before is you ask about how you can indicate who you think's the finest their favorite doctor, and you'll be able to determine at the end of the great episode when, for 12 seconds, the curator of the museum appears, and it's Tom Baker, and both of us actually cheered in our living room. It was like, this is so right.
Unfortunately, I just looked up at the time and was like, no, but we have to start wrapping up the show. But before we do, I want to make sure that you have some ample time to go ahead and say what projects you're working on, what possibly might be going on this weekend for our listeners on the podcast, would be going on right now. For the live viewers, this coming weekend. So, Jody, what's on your docket? What do everybody listening need to know?
Well, for the next 24 hours, I am getting ready for my writer's workshop, which begins bright and early at 9 a.m. on Thursday. Excuse me. I have pre-recorded, I think, 5 panels and a reading. So check the schedule. We had a lot of fun. I participated in a character match game for the fantasy literature track, and that was huge fun. We got to play one of our characters. So that was fun.
And your character?
My character is Sergeant Dina Malone, who is one of the 2 main characters in my science fiction humorous detective stories. So she's she was kind of a tough sell. She's from the New York area, and she's got this alien living in a midsection. So it's kind of a witness protection program in a new kind of way. But I also have several other panels that I participated in. I did a reading for the science fiction literature track that is on will be on their Facebook page.
Okay.
And there is so much for people to enjoy with DragonCon Goes Virtual. Please drop into the website and follow the links, and you'll really have a good time. I am working on a Myth Adventures novel, Ain't Myth Behavin'. I'm working on a couple of short stories and a novel for Eric Flint in the 1632 universe And I was very honored to be asked by him, and I think it'll be a great deal of fun.
Oh
so
my
are you
God.
going to be participating in Ring of Fire Con for that, perchance? Then
Yes, I'll be.
Yes,
I'll,
we both
I'll be on
are.
that. Yeah, I'll be on that too. We'll have a. I have Eric.
just
Eric
registered.
asked me for about 5 panels, I think, already.
Fantastic! I just registered. I can't wait for that. For those that haven't read it, the 1632 series by Eric Flint is amazing, and it's all time travel. A city in West Virginia in 2000 gets sent back to the middle of the 30 Years' War in Germany, and creates an alternate timeline universe that is awesome. So,
What about you, Bill?
Let's see. I'm just finishing an unsold novel that's Armored Combat in 2040, The Heroes of the Kurds. And they recreate the Mongol Empire in 6 books with military armor. I think the most fun I had was naming it, which was, you know how tanks were named tanks because they were labeled, the crates that came them in, water tanks. And that's why we call tanks tanks.
I never
they
knew
were
that.
first shipped in World War I to Europe and across the channel. And these were general ordnance garments, which were shipped out. And so in the Mideast, and the hero wears a blue turban, the Gogs and their later on major armament general ordnance garments, Magogs, are running wild in the Mideast for the biblical reference. And I'm, of course, been working on DragonCon, www.dragoncon.org. Check in, join us. It's free. We're welcome. Everyone is welcome, whether you've come again or not, and we'd love to see you there. And other than that, editing and putting a few other books together and revising a series of short stories I did for a series called The Fleet into a short novel, featuring a character who is a lousy shot, is a quartermaster, and pretty much wins the war.
Very cool. Oh my God. Both of you, I don't know how on earth with such huge just lists and lists and lists, how hyper organized you must both be. Or am I just being very, very giving you a lot more credit than should be deserved?
A lot more credit than we
Don't say it that way.
I'm being honest. I'm being frank.
Well, you know.
Oh, yes. All writers are terribly organized.
We welcome our alien overlords.
But thank you so very much for being on our podcast and making the time for tonight to be on here and to tell us a little bit about everything that you're working on, and especially with the workshops, with DragonCon coming up, and all of your amazing literary projects in the pipeline. After our show, we'll definitely make sure that we get all the links that you want to directing everybody towards. That way we make sure we tie them into it. Thank you, Mark Muncie from Erie, Florida, for joining me. Thank you, Christian Basil, the usual host of The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, until I, Melanie Dean of Paces of Melee, decided to steal this from him so we can kind of co-opt StreamYard. So thank you once again, everybody, for listening in. We really appreciate your time, and thank you for being part of The Legend.
No, thank you, Melanie Dean, for hosting. You were awesome. You were awesome, 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 awesome. But we got to go. We can't stay here. And there, folks, thank you. Where is it? Okay, there we go. Now we are on the after party. That was the end of the audio version. Now, Jody and Bill, if you want to stick around, we're still recording, just for folks who may have had questions or things that they want to bring up that you were able to bring up to the show.
Oh, I thought this is when we did the smutty parts.
We could. We're still family operated.
Dr. 24 tried to Audrey.
I'm gonna embarrass myself with that. When I said Bill Fawcett, I've heard that name, Bill Fawcett, and then I just saw you into the play because Alexi didn't mention you at all. I was just like, oh, Bill's here, and I was just like, why is that name? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'll look it up. Oh,
there you go.
So let me hit my head against this TARDIS.
A lot of years in the business to get.
Yeah, I didn't put two to two together because it's the first time we've met. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, wow,
well, hello.
Okay. Yeah, and it was like, well, we're participating in DragonCon too because I'm doing I did the Red Dwarf panel pre-recorded. they asked a lot of us podcasters to come out and do questions. They were asking like individual questions. There's something going on over there, but I've been working with Robert, and sweet guy. I mean, we were just doing it, but I think, I'm going to put this up there. Yay, Melanie. Great job. Absolutely. So yeah, gang, if you have any questions for these two, please do.
Yeah,
and if you need to go for it. We normally just do this little discussion. So anybody in the audience who hasn't had a chance to ask questions, or if they want to continue the discussion, but this the audio version is already over. This is just like an extra bonus we call the after party.
I'll even answer Dragon Con secret questions.
What's that? So, okay.
Well, I was just going to quickly make the comment of just for everything that you've put into Dragon Con, thank you, because I'm very, very thankful, but I'm also very happy to see from a business standpoint, because my background is actually marketing. It's my kind of the full-time job that pays the mortgage. To see businesses that are agile, to know, okay, well, we can't have it because of COVID. We can't do it this way. How do we go ahead and still reach our audience, still maintain something? Maybe won't be able to have the revenue that we are going to hopefully get that we wanted to, but we can still have our ROI either in social media metrics or something like that. So thank you to you and your team for thinking outside the box for a con. That's not person to person.
Well, I'll give you a few insights into that. We've been working on if we have to do a virtual since early May, even though we didn't make the decision until early July. We tried. We wanted so bad. And so did all of our attendees. And I will accept 2,700 and something of the thanks, because that's how many volunteers we have. I'm a volunteer too. That's all. We're all volunteers. And without every one of them, it wouldn't work. We had 85,000 people there last year. And it also wouldn't work if they weren't such good people. I mean, they are really great people. The group just has a community, and it's amazing. APD loves us because we contrast wonderfully with about everything except the ministers' conference for problems and arrests. We have like none hardly, and when they get the college, there's a college game always the same weekend, and they managed to outdo us at the police department a lot.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's a fun competition. Who's going to send how many people to jail tonight? Woo! We got less than
But I've got to tip a hat at the people who run the senior people that own and run Dragon Con, because they've been putting money aside from profits every year and not taking it out and building up a war fund, so that if this kind of thing had ever happened, or we'd had some other major use, since we become successful in the last years and profitable, that a good portion of that money is put away for the con. There's just a few employees who are needed to maintain something of this size.
In the office.
We have an office that we have open, and none of them are overpaid. Ask them. And we basically put the money back into the community, along with our charity donation, which was, I think, 150 grand last year.
Well, I'm hoping
very substantial.
Wow.
The convention also gives more blood than I think anybody else in the Southeast.
We are the
volunteers again, right?
Always, yeah. Well, we drive them in with cattle prods, but they give. And last year it was about 2,700 units. And that's about double.
They run out of vampires, and the line gets very, very long. That's what I've been calling the phlebotomists, and some of them really enjoy that.
The biggest problem is people have to lead the line because they have to be somewhere, because it can take a while. The wonderful patient people often wait over an hour just to give their blood. We're double anything else in the Southeast. But that's our community. It's a giving community, a supportive community.
Well, I like this format because I think the other conventions are probably going to be looking at this, because one of the things that is kind of, I wouldn't say a negative thing in the respect of it, but 4 days out of the year and that's it. And that's all you get. But with now the online conventions, and especially I love that Dragon Con was a convention that said, we're going to take a chance on this. I totally appreciate that. Why does the convention have to end just at 4 nights when it can continue online? We don't have to go anywhere. We can commute. We can talk about anything that's updated, and then the convention just continues to run.
You can get the streaming thing for the year and access it and past conventions all year round and look at panels on anything that interests you and the old appearances of big name stars and things and their big auditorium appearances all through the year, along with communicating on what must be 20 or 30 different Facebook and other groups at this point. So we're all very happy, and as I said, it's the community that's our response. We feel responsible too. We also had an advantage where we are involved and assist with MomoCon, and they did it first, so we learned a lot from what they did and how to make it function. Mostly technical and how to set up the equipment, which was like when they were doing it in March, setting up in March for an April, that was a learning experience.
Right.
So hopefully when things snafu, we'll find a new way to screw up instead of the ways they did.
Dragon Con never makes the same mistake twice. They fix the mistakes and then other things come up.
We find a new way.
Right.
We like to think of our guests as just our attendees as just endlessly creative.
I love
that's one point for 2020 cons is that a lot of them you have the sect of people who are being agile, going into virtual. We're going to do it, but there is no playbook that everybody has. Not like a typical convention where you can go to other, if you attend other conventions and you go, okay, well, this is what this one in the Northwest does, and this one does in the West. And you're like, okay, well, I could take and learn from other people's mistakes and take the good things, which is honestly what wise people do. You try not to make the mistake yourself, learn from the other person who made the mistake and take it there. But here with virtual cons, we were all doing that within 2020. And to your point, you're already doing the wise thing of finding out, okay, what didn't work for this con? What didn't work? Because you don't have that great pool of wealth for years and years of virtual cons of what you should do and what platforms. And that's the great thing for anyone that has any arresting ways of wanting to go, anything that they don't want to go to a con or don't want to watch it. Every con's different, and as we keep going along, if you've gone to any other virtual con, each one's getting better. So Dragon Con's probably, after already taking great things from Momo.
No, go ahead, set the bar high so when we trip, it looks bad. I've got to give credit to Trackheads. We have 32 different tracks plus about 20 other sets of programming, and our Trackheads have been around over a decade on the average, and they really came through with great stuff for us to get it on. There'll be 3 on. What we did is we have 3 tracks, plus we have on those major tracks, we have 3 presentations from each of the 32 tracks, plus the other major events. And then there were between 1 and 10 other things on each of the tracks' Facebook page as well that you can go to over that weekend. And it starts Thursday night and ends Monday.
Media.
Pardon?
Quite a lot of things are being done on social media because it's accessible to a lot of people.
I made a mistake, and I'm going to do this now, or Melanie, or Sage is going to kill me. So I'll make this little advertisement since it's part of the video there. For you folks who've been watching the show, you've been seeing our sponsors. If you want to be part of the sponsorship with the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, well, we're now 37,000 Facebook subscribers strong for a Doctor Who podcast, over 12,000 YouTube subscribers with the Hanging With web show. If you want, we invite you to be part of the Legend. Please email Sage at thehangingwithshow.com or myself at Christian at The Hanging With Show, or we can get talk to you about our special packages and rates there. Sorry, Bill. I forgot to make that plug into the regular show, but
what did I say? Make the plug. Do your plug. I teach that.
You got it there. So.
How many Facebook users are we now at? You don't
We're
need to be
at
precise.
37,000 subscribers strong at this moment. If you really want the accurate number, here it comes. 37,192 and growing. Ever since we went online, we've raised 5,000 subscribers. this platform has been amazing as far as getting our name out there, and a lot of it. I don't know if Bill, if you've seen our previous episodes, we were talking. We had Sylvester McCoy. He was just our last episode. Terry Malloy. We've had Annette Badland. We've had Yi Cho. We've had Nick Briggs on twice. We've had Katie Manning on twice with Tim Treloar, who does the voice of the Third Doctor in Big Finish. So we've had a lot of experience recently this year.
Christian, face it, you're now a destination.
Yeah, I know. Let's make it a destination.
He's still got imposter syndrome, so we'll get him there. We'll get him there.
You got to tell me what that is one day, because I keep hearing that from Brian K. Morris, and everybody's mentioning imposter syndrome.
You don't feel like it's real. You don't feel like you've hit a success point. I mean, I was, like I said, when Eerie hit the bestseller list, I was the first from our publisher to ever do that. So they flipped out. They started putting me at cons and stuff like that. And they've never done that. These, History Press, all they print is, Battle of Ulusty and, things like that. And, family histories and histories of small towns. So they flipped out. And I still, I go to cons and all this, and I've got a line a mile long, and I'm like, wait, the guy from Ghost Adventures is right there. The guy from Bigfoot Hunters is right there. Why are you waiting to see me?
Right.
That's imposter syndrome. You don't realize, you've got a following. You've done it, and you got to get over that, man. I've still got it a little bit.
So many authors get it.
Oh yeah, authors are the worst at it, right? I mean, you guys, of course. I mean, and a Bill with Mayfair, I mean, and Gen Con for years. I remember the lines were always miles long for you guys, and I was always like, wow, how do I get up to the front?
Gen Con, you remember me because I was the auctioneer for a decade.
Right. Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, those days.
Oh yeah, it was smaller then.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you're talking about publishing and games and all these things, and I'm in my 70s, and I still wake up wondering what I'm going to do when I have to go get a real job. It doesn't fade. It just continues. It's just it's a grown-up version of the math test nightmare.
Yeah.
When are they going to discover I'm faking it and I'm playing around in my hobby and make me go work?
I actually have a true life story of imposter syndrome. Everybody of a certain age in science fiction has a Harlan Ellison story, and this one is mine because he was always very nice to me. But I was at a convention. There were only 7 authors there besides him and Neil Gaiman, who were off doing paneling. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what to do with us, really. So they put us at a table in the middle of the hallway. And mostly we were being ignored because this was very early on before they actually had tracks for literature. And we chatted for a bit, and I said, sometimes I feel like, this is all, it should, why am I here? Why would anybody want to talk to me? And he said, I'll tell you how long ago this was by what he said. He said, I'm 57 years old. And I keep thinking that every day someone is going to come into my house and take away everything I have because they'll find out I've been faking it all these years.
Nice.
So he was incredibly generous about that and sensitive to the fact that I was going through what he had been going through for years and years and years. And it doesn't ever quite go away, because if it does, then you probably stop being effective because you're starting to believe your own press releases. But it was very kind of him to actually think about that and to calm a very new, trembling young writer. He was really nice about that.
And what did he say as he walked by you going down the aisle?
Oh, he was picking on everybody as he came to them and saying, "Oh yeah, you again." And Max Allen Collins was on one side of me and Mort Castle was on the other. And he came up and he pointed at Max and said, "Do you realize just by sitting next to this man, you're going to lose your reputation? Hi, Max. How are you doing?" The two of them chatted. And then he came along. Yes. And stabbed his finger at my nameplate and said, "Good writer, but I like your individual books a lot more than I like your collaborations." Oh my God. Wow. He's read not one thing of mine, but several things of mine. So that's how we got into the conversation.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So,
wow.
He yelled at me like some guy asked me to write something for him and he yelled at me for saying, "Well, what are you going to pay him for that? He's a professional writer. You pay. He gets paid for this.
Money flows to the writer."
Yeah, exactly. And then the guy who was like, I just wanted him to write, this little thing. He's like, yeah, he's not doing that unless you're paying him. And that's when I looked at him. He's like, yeah, if you're a professional, you get paid. And that was
writer. Mm-hmm.
That was amazing to me. That floored me. Little young me too, just floored by that. And it's like, oh man, Harlan Ellison, holy crud. So,
no, he was out there to defend us. He was our crusader.
Harlan was a super nice guy, except when he wasn't.
Yeah.
And we all loved him, but it was like the brother who occasionally annoys the heck out of you.
the weird uncle.
His greatest story is the time when he got drafted, which he told us at a dinner one time. And he says, they put us all in this long line and these people were going along and they're doing this and that. And this young, obnoxious lieutenant type is pushing us all through and being very gruff and everything. And he puts an arm on my shoulder and shoves me. So I turned around and punched him in the nose. Harlan took nothing. Yeah. And the sergeant runs up and the lieutenant goes, I want him court-martialed. Harlan says, and he said he was going to court-martial me. And then the sergeant came up and said, you can't, he's not in the military yet. Well, then I want him arrested. Then he'll have a felony and we can't draft him. And the lieutenant fumed and watched as everything was processed. And in those days during the Vietnam War, they went down and they didn't just put you in the Army, they assigned you. The big guys got the Marines and whatever. And the guys going down, Army, Navy, Army, Marine, Navy. He got to Harlan and went airborne, Army, Navy. Now Harlan's 5'0" and
no,
110 pounds.
He was 5'7".
Pardon?
He was 5'7".
Yeah, he's 5'7", a little taller than me, in fact, and that's why I like me. And they put him in the paratroops. And Jody, you can tell what happened there.
Oh, because he was one of the few people who could read in his unit. They called him the professor. He would take his typewriter on a board and sit in one of the toilet stalls and he would type stories out. So he was actually making money while he was in the military because he always had to write no matter where he was. He was one of the kind of people who could sit in a shop window and type and it wouldn't disturb him. He was that concentrating. But he made a lot of money writing stories, but he also wrote letters home for a lot of the kids who actually couldn't read. It was not required.
Oh, wow.
But he was,
yeah.
5'7" of them, all 120 pounds.
And he made it. He passed paratroop training. He
did.
got his wings.
How the heck did he carry all this gear for a paratrooper? The paratrooper gear itself is going to be 60 to 80 pounds.
Harlan was stubborn.
Good
He
Lord.
also put on a lot of muscle. He
was wiry. He had put a lot of muscle on you in the training too. And he said he spent the next 3 years wanting to run across that lieutenant, but he never did.
Oh, damn.
Once he had his wings.
That would have been good.
And 6 guys the size of a horse that were going to help him.
So Jody, I saw the announcement for Ring of FireCon just before I logged in for this, and I saw your name on it, and I had no idea that you were writing for it. I'm so excited.
Eric did me the honor of asking me to join the group, so I'm very happy to do that. And for people out there, I want to point out, this is also the 1632 and Ring of Fire and Grantville Gazette is a possibility for young writers who want to try something. If you think that you want to write something for the Grantville Gazette, you want to write something that is set in the Ring of Fire universe, give it a try. He has actually hired people from the slush pile.
Yep.
They aren't accepting unsolicited anymore, really.
No stories for the Grantville Gazette.
But stories for the Grantville Gazette, anybody can submit.
And once you have got to be known in that, you can be considered.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's like I said, I've been doing Erie, Florida, and Florida books for so long, and I'm trying to get back into fiction because it's been since late '80s that I did that. So it's like, when I saw that was coming, that he was accepting again for Grantville, I was like, my next book is Erie, Appalachia, so it's about Mothman, and I'm doing a lot of research up in West Virginia area. So I'm like,
that sort of fits.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I wonder if he's done anything with that yet. And so I've been scouring Grantville articles recently, and then I saw the con coming up, and then I'm like, oh man, yeah. So just perfect storm.
Give it a go. Give it a go. His editors are Walt Boyce and Joy Ward. So send something in.
That is the plan. So, but thank you
Melanie,
guys so much for being on. I've got to run.
Yeah. No problem. Well, Melanie, I was about to say, if you'd like, you can go ahead. Unless you have a last minute thing, I'll go ahead and end the broadcast now.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Thank everybody.
www.dragoncon.org this weekend.
That's right. Catch these guys and me. I'm going to be there. So, folks, thank you for joining us there. We're going to have another episode next week, and just stay logged on, stay tuned in, and again, become part of the legend. Thanks for coming, and please stay safe out there. Wash your damn hands.
Wash your damn hands. Put your mask on.